Hello and welcome. And today I'm going to talk about a very touchy topic. Is there racism in professional medical exam? And what about our work in hospitals or any other place? And what about racism in our general life, day-to-day activities? And I believe, yes, the racism does exist. Number of years ago, when I was working as an ICU registrar, one of a very senior nurse actually came up to me and asking for an analgesia. He said that I'm working on a set of night shifts and I'm unable to go and see my regular GP, and would I be very kind enough to give him a script for Penadine Fort, which I did. A few days later, I realized that he has actually put a complaint against me, that Rizwan gave me a script of Penadine Fort, despite me being not his regular patient and he's not my GP. You need to have a chat to him. The consultant who was doing that complaint said to me, Rizwan, you're a very good doctor and I would encourage you never to give a script to any person at workplace, and if they've got pain or any other reason, then they should go and ask for a script from emergency department. I felt cornered that out of my goodwill, that nurse actually put a complaint against me, and I was not expecting that. Why? Maybe he didn't like me. I was a new registrar, I was obviously non-white, and it's the way that he asked me for a favor and converted that favor into a complaint just sent out a very inflammatory vibe about the whole situation. Also, about 5 years ago, Australasian College of Emergency Medicine was a part of a big controversy. About 30 or so non-white trainees put a complaint, a 38-page complaint letter against the college, alleging that they've only got 8.3% chance of passing the clinical part of the fellowship exam compared to their white trainees counterpart who have got 88% chance of passing the very same exam. So there's obviously some prejudice, and they reasoned that how can you trust us running the emergency department at night shifts, during the evening shifts, when the resources are very slim, there are very few doctors and a specialty across the hospital, and we're able to function as a very capable doctor, but when it comes to exam, we're not able to pass the exams. And I felt it both ways, that look, yes, you can make an argument out of it, but obviously college has to maintain a certain standard. It's not that you are safe on the floor and you automatically pass the exam. The college has to maintain a bar, and you have to be above that bar standard level to be able to pass that exam. But then again, you see these numbers and they obviously are huge numbers. Also, about 12 years ago, MRCP PACES had an inquiry and they showed that 45% of the IMGs or non-white doctors are able to pass the PACES exam compared to the white local trainees. Their passing rate, the white doctors' passing rate for MRCP PACES is about 85% or more. So these numbers are huge, and obviously they do reflect a certain level of prejudice. So what could be the various reasons of that? And I think there are a number of different reasons. First of all, as an IMG, I feel that when we were sitting within our group and talking to each other, our performance starts from a failure level, and we have to actually prove our worth and our credibility and clinical knowledge to be able to pass and go above the pass threshold, compared to white training whose performance actually starts at the pass level, and then he has to really do some big mistake to be able to fail that exam. But those were the conversation. Obviously some were true and some were not, but I do feel that there are certain prejudices. We make ourselves a nervous wreck because we consider ourselves that, oh, we're going to fail this exam. Most of our colleagues fail this exam, so I'm also automatically going to fail this exam. There are obviously cultural differences, there are language differences. Now, because of our nervousness, we actually make a mess of our clinical performance, and this leads us to fail. And I think this is the overall psyche of the whole entire process, that because we have been systemically prejudiced against for a number of years, there's a mindset automatically that being a non-white doctor or an IMG are more than likely to fail that exam, which is not the case. But I still believe that those numbers of 8.3 versus 85% and 45% versus 85% for MRCP PACES do show a certain level of prejudice. So what happened to that college inquiry for the Australasian College of Emergency Medicine? The college were actually a part of the big media circus. Everybody was criticizing the college, and the college actually had to hire the external review sourcing because Australian Medical Council asked the college to make its exam process more transparent and open to reforms. And since then they have introduced, videoing the candidates and the participants, so to be able to be subject to more scrutiny If there's a complaint that you are not able to pass that exam, if anybody complained, then the college can show and demonstrate that we are actually quite justified in failing that candidate. Now, what about the workplace? And I've seen that many IMGs, particularly JMOs, fail the terms, mainly because of the communication aspect. And there could be formal communication and informal communication. That communication is an interaction with their patient, with their other colleagues, with the nurses. If you're not really coming across as a very communicating person or very open person or very friendly person, you are more likely to be targeted and be under more scrutiny, particularly from the nurses. Nurses are more likely to put a complaint against you if you are an IMG, and I've seen various examples of that throughout my medical career. Also, when we see jobs being advertised for major hospital, tertiary, teaching and trauma hospitals in the cities, more than likely these jobs will be backed by the local trainees and graduates. It will be very unlikely an IMG for the first time would be able to bag that job as his first job. Also, when there are jobs for head of the departments, more than likely the local white doctors will get those jobs, because these are jobs which command a certain level of authority and have got a lot of administrative responsibilities. Unless and until that job is unpopular and you'll find someone who is obviously an IMG and working as the head of the department. You may find other smaller hospital at a district level or regional hospital in which you will have more and more migrant doctors working as the head of the department. I remember this example a number of years ago when I was shortlisted for my very first job in the UK. It was for an emergency medicine job at Charing Cross Hospital. And I was the only IMG shortlisted out of the 10 candidates sitting there for an interview. 9 of those candidates were local graduates. Some of them were actually working in that same hospital. And I was a bit perplexed that why have they shortlisted me? Like, maybe my CV is really that good, or my application form was filled in a way that they really liked me. Obviously, I didn't get that job. At the feedback, they told me that, you're an IMG and you're new to the system and you should look for an intern job, not for an SHO level job. And maybe you should go out towards the countryside and find a job in small district hospital as an intern. And I was a bit perplexed with that answer by the emergency consultant there. And I was thinking, I didn't say that, but I was thinking that if you did not want to give me that job, why did you shortlist me in the first place? Like, you knew that I am an IMG, you know that this is my level of experience, and if that's the feedback, I need to get more Western experience, then you should not have shortlisted me. I was very upset about it, but my friends told me at that time, look, they have to show themselves on paper as an equal opportunity employer, that they do shortlist people from diverse group of ethnic minorities. That was then. That was about 15 or 16 years ago, and things may have changed. What about general life? I think the only people who think that there's no racism in Australia, UK, America, or any other Western worlds are the people who are naive enough, have a certain level of threshold which is that high that they just don't sense racism. We see racism in its form from a low level to almost high level. High level example being, the people are killed for their religious belief, for their appearances. We've seen movements like Black Lives Matter, and recently an example of family being killed because of belonging to a certain religion. So there are examples of extremism there, which are racially motivated, which are religiously motivated. But there are certainly mediocre and low-level examples which we experience on day-to-day basis. When I go to the shops, when I go to the shopping center, obviously there is a certain level. We've all faced remarks of some very benign nature as a joke, or somewhat a mediocre to very inflammatory comments as well. There is a form of racism which always exists and which will always exist. It is just us who are tempering our threshold level to be able to respond to that. So what are the different ways to find a solution to this problem? Is there a solution? First of all, in exam, we've got to make sure that clinically we are sound enough to pass that exam, not just because we're a good doctor on the floor, but actually we can pass the exam based on our knowledge and our clinical performance. It is an exam which has got a certain level, and our communication skills and our knowledge needs to be at excellent level, so that there is no prejudice and we can make a case if there's any prejudice against it. Also, at our workplace, if you feel that there is ever a remark which has been made, in humor or otherwise, please say to that person, this remark is not appreciated, and please report that. This is a day and age in which even sporting superstars and people from very high profile businesses and very high commanding jobs lose their multi-million dollar contracts making a racial or sexist remark. So please make a comment on that, and at least if anything which has changed over a period of time is that you can report these incidents and your voice will be heard. Not only it sets off an example for you because you will have a certain level of standard to speak against these kind of issues, but also you're making things better for the future generations. At the end, I'd also like to say, keep yourself original, keep yourself authentic, never fake an accent. You are what you are, and be able to speak with your true mind is one good quality you must never let go of. Being original and believing in where you come from, for your religious ideology, for your racial identity, it's very important not only for you and your standard of living, but also for all the people who are following you and looking up to you, particularly your family. And I'd like to end this conversation with a beautiful poetry from Urdu language. Zulm sehna bhi to zulm ki himayat thera. Zulm sehna bhi to zulm ki himayat thera. Khamoshi bhi to hui pusht panahi ki tarah. By Parveen Shakir. Look after yourself and take a good care of all the others related to you. Khuda Hafiz.